So before we begin our Ignite rounds, I just wanted to help reinforce why we're gathered here today. It's to build a stronger, more connected, and more resilient intelligence community. INSA is proud to provide this forum where we can exchange ideas, support one another's growth, and share the stories that help move us forward. And now it's time for one of the most energizing parts of the program, other than the bar later. We have some Ignite rounds and stories that folks want to share. Please welcome Bill Pessin, a member of INSA's Board of Directors and Senior Vice President and General Manager for Salesforce National Security, who will introduce our moderator. Bill, over to you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Suzanne, thank you so much. Again, my name is Bill Pessin. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Salesforce National Security. Salesforce National Security is a wholly owned subsidiary of Salesforce set up solely to support our national security customers. Our accredited and air-gapped solutions provide our national security customers the solutions that they need on the fabric that they need to operate on. Now, it is my honor and privilege of introducing our Ignite Round moderator, John Doyon. John is the Executive Vice President at INSA, and in this capacity, he leads INSA's strategy, operations, thought leadership, programs, and partnerships. Previously, he served for 35 years at NSA, where he held numerous senior leadership positions focused on NSA's signal intelligence mission, including serving as the chief strategist for Signals Intelligence Directorate and the Global Capabilities Manager for Russia. Please join me in welcoming John.
Thanks so much, Bill. And good afternoon, everybody. Let me get to my page here. Hey, I'm really excited to lead the Ignite rounds this afternoon. This truly is one of my favorite parts of the new IC program. The sessions give us a chance to have insightful discussions on important organizational and structural issues and hear from the personal side of our community. We get to learn more about our speakers and the incredible depth and quality of the people that make up our workforce. So today we're going to hear from 5 leaders with diverse backgrounds and experiences, and everybody's going to have like the TED Talk style. Everybody will have about 6 to 8 minutes each to share their perspectives on our theme for today, which is off-script, lessons learned from the unexpected. And the first up, we have Ehringer Helbling. Ehringer's talk is titled Trust as a Strategy. Over to you, Ehringer.
Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I've never given a scripted talk before, so if I make a joke or something, just laugh. I actually don't think I'm even making a joke, so, but just appreciate the warmth. All right, so we come from a world where trust is not in our vocabulary. In the intelligence community where I was born and raised, we're trained to hunt, not to trust. We pride ourselves on discovering what others can't see, often from the shadows. And for a long time, that was the only way I knew how to serve. But I want to share a story that's not on my resume. It's not polished, it's not linear, but it shaped who I've become and how I believe we need to evolve as a community. A few years ago, I walked into a tiny WeWork in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Altana, the billion-dollar valued AI company that many of you know today, was a startup of maybe 30 people. And I was brought in to build the federal business from scratch. At the time, I thought I was ready. I had worked across places like SpaceX, the Defense Innovation Unit, 3-letter agencies, Hawkeye 360. I had built public-private partnerships, delivered tech to operators. I felt fluent in both the commercial and the defense and intelligence worlds. I believed I knew how to serve the mission. But I quickly realized I didn't know what I didn't know, and that's dangerous ground. Altana's vision and capability is revolutionary. Their product can track the movement of a single thread through global supply chains using federated artificial intelligence and shared intelligence. My instinct, use that visibility for covert targeting. Classic, right? For threat hunting, to get the bad guys. But their vision was different. They wanted to build trust, to use transparency to prevent conflict, not just respond to it. I remember thinking, this doesn't align with how I was raised professionally. Trust is a liability. And yet, here was this company saying, no, trust is the strategy. And I struggled. I missed opportunities. I failed to communicate the mission. I nearly walked away. Many of us have felt the same. I probably nearly got fired. I remember hearing whispers of, we aren't looking to be a spooky tool. My confidence plummeted. I knew exactly who they were talking about when they were making those comments. But then something happened. In every moment of friction, I had conversations with those same people, making those whispers. I watched how their minds opened when they understood why we do the things the way we do them. And at the same time, I started to understand them. That's when I realized if we want to be successful in serving, we need to allow those we serve to empower us as well. That only happens in open, values-based relationships where the giver and the receiver both walk away stronger. But that's not how we're trained. That is what the mission now requires. One of my mentors in the intelligence community once said, after leaving a board meeting of a publicly traded company who also does federal work, I wish we lived in the world they believe we lived in. I know that feeling, and I know many of you do too. I've lived that feeling. But I also believe we have a responsibility to build that world, not just defend against it, not just defend against its absence. This conference is called the New IC for a reason. The world has changed. Our mission must change with it. And that begins with redefining how we see ourselves, not just as protectors, but as partners as well. So before you leave this room, I have one ask. Find one person here who sees the world differently than you do. Set a time to talk. Maybe it's a commercial company. Maybe it's someone in the government. Maybe it's someone that is just learning how to spell IC. Ask each other, what would it look like to build trust into the center of our shared mission? What would it look like to truly serve? Because we don't just need new tools to keep up with this rapidly changing environment. We need a new identity, an identity rooted in trust, service, and the kind of relationships that leave everyone stronger. Thank you.
Nice job, Eringer, and I like the idea of the importance of open, values-based relationships. That was great. Next, we have up from NSA, Mark Jarima. Mark's talk is titled Overcoming Adversity.
Good afternoon. How many of you have ever felt at one point your life is just in a storm and it doesn't seem like it's going to end? Yeah? You're in one of three phases of life. You're right now either in a storm, leaving a storm, or heading into a storm. Those are the three options. I learned this well in 2008, working in the private sector, traveling the world. I'm an instructor. I was doing training. We went public. 6 months later, sold my stock, deciding I'm too young to retire. So I reinvested all that money, and here's what happened. I lost every bit of it. I didn't know anything about investing. Then I was let go from my job. I was down to $2.22 in my bank account. My house foreclosed. I was diagnosed with a very unique form of cancer. I was being sued by a financial institution, and the woman that I was going to marry left me. Out of all those that I mentioned, the one that I'm still upset about is my girlfriend leaving because I tried to break up with her when I had some money, but she wouldn't let me. She said we needed to communicate more. I said, okay. And then when I was broke, I was like, honey, come back. That's a true story. Ended up in my friend's basement cutting grass for $30 just to survive. Let's fast forward to 2025. I have 3 books out. I have 3 more coming out this year. I have a great job at NSA. I speak all over the country. I have a side business teaching personality styles for companies using the DISC system. I just bought a beautiful house 3 years ago. I created a musical album. I don't even know anything about music. That's a great story. I'm not telling you all this to impress you, but to impress upon you that when you're in a storm, if you do the ordinary extraordinarily well, you can come out on top. Now, I'm just going to give you the what I did. I don't have time to tell you the how, so here's what I did. Number 1, mindset. Repeat after me, mindset. Earl Nightingale said it best. Whatever you believe, you can achieve. Whatever you think about, you're going to bring about in your life. Whatever you think about the longest will remain the strongest. You can tell the direction of someone's life just by their thoughts. But let's be honest with ourselves. Do we spend more time thinking about what we want or what we don't want? What we don't want. I don't want to get sick. What happens? We get sick. I don't want this relationship to fall apart. What do? We self-destruct it. I hope I don't end up in a dead-end job. We find our way into a dead-end job. I don't want to get any more debt. We find ways to get in debt. So the first thing I had to do to rebuild my life, understand just how powerful this tool is. Number 2, attitude. Don't ever think your attitude is good enough. I know you're all nice people, but your attitude's either leading the way or in the way. It's working for you, against you. It's connecting you or disconnecting you. I'm talking about what's the attitude people see when you walk in the office. Do you walk in the office with a smile, saying good morning, being a good team player? Because people want to help people with good attitudes. I watch people walk down the hallways at work. They walk like their souls have been sucked out of them. Do you know these people? Like they're going to have the most miserable day. I'm going for another root canal. Stay away from the dead people. But your attitude will determine your altitude. Number 3 of 4, remember this, OQP, only quality people. Only quality people. There's 2 kinds of people in this world. Those that will bring energy into your life and those that will drain you. One negative person can stop you from achieving your goals. James Allen wrote a book, The Measure of a Man. He says when 2 people go for a walk together, something powerful happens. Either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to yours. So you have to ask yourself, whose pace am I adjusting to? What I had to do is figure out who do I need to let out of my car to success and who do I need to invite in. Because here's an important lesson. Not everybody can join your journey. And that's going to be a tough decision. But you want to stay away from the negative people. Misery loves company. They're on Facebook together. They go have coffee together. They walk the halls together. You don't got time for that. They'll bring you down. They want you to join their club. Just say no. And here's the 4th thing. And it's the hardest, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's called forgiveness. You have to forgive 3 buckets of people now. 1, you have to forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made. 2, forgive the people that have hurt you in your past. And 3, you have to forgive those who have died and crossed over before you were ready to say goodbye to them. It's amazing how we hang on to death that holds us back. Now, this is not easy. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not letting the other person go. You're letting yourself go. Forgiveness is remembering without the anger. But here's the problem. You cannot have a better future if you're carrying the pain of the past. So many people are holding on to the past as the excuse to why they can't step into their greatness. Once again, I know this is tough, but work with someone, work with a friend, a coach, a mentor. How do I release myself from what has happened to me? Who you are today is not who you were yesterday. Now, I've worked with a lot of people, and here's what I've realized. Most people die at the age of 35, but they're not buried till the age of 85. Because from 35 to 85, their life won't look much different. Why? Because we fall into the trap of thinking we get up every morning to live to work. No, we work to live. Give me a head nod on that one. We wake up every morning thinking pursuing our goals and our dreams is selfish. And then we fall into complacency. Complacency is the killer in all relationships and dreams. So, my friends, I invite you, when your life is in a storm, and it will go into a storm, you are bigger, better, smarter, more talented, more powerful than any storm that can come your way. Light always follows darkness. Sun always follows the rain. And if you're in a storm right now, just take a deep breath. Go back to the basics. Do them very well. Change your mindset. Hang around the right people. What do I need to let go? And is my attitude the best that it can be right now? And if you just start that journey, I promise you will come out on top. My friends, I look forward to meeting some of you at the cocktail hour. Thank you. Enjoy.
Hey, thanks, Mark. That was great. OQP, that's an acronym I didn't know. So only quality people. So thank you for that. And next, we're going to hear from a dear friend of mine, Mary Quinn. Mary is currently the Executive Director for Intelligence at TSA, and she will discuss the importance of crucial conversations.
Thank you. Please excuse my whoopee of my slides, but I want to make sure that I get the key points. So, crucial conversations is something which I think I first learned about from a woman named Elise. Perhaps you're familiar with her. I'm not talking about my current position, but a very profound experience that I had. I was on a joint duty assignment to OSD from DIA, and I was tasked with a project that was going to assess the state of the analytic community. And I knew, oh, this is an easy task, and it's not fraught with a bunch of discussions of people's missions, people's resources, a whole lot of things. And so I said, if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna be associated with it, and I've built up my hallway file as far as people know that I will be honest and do this the right way. So I did an extensive review of the companies that we would work with to be collecting the data and talk to a lot of people as far as who would be a good graybeard to oversee this program, and had done all my due diligence. And the first indicator that maybe it wasn't gonna go the way I thought it was gonna go was when they said, that's very nice, Mary, but this is the company you're gonna use, and this is gonna be your graybeard. And I said, okay. So we proceeded to go out and we did site visits, and I think that is really important as far as why this was a challenge to me, was there was a lot of people that I worked with in the services and the combatant commands and across the intelligence community who said, we're always a little skeptical of these studies that are directed by Congress, but we trust you, because I had been honest with people and very transparent conversation before then. So I said, okay, we'll go out, and we collected the data. And we started doing our preliminary analysis to report back, and it wasn't the results that everyone wanted to hear. So I said, okay, you can sort of massage some of the data, but I wrote a polite response to my bosses saying, if we tinker with this data, the people that we talk to will know it, and we're going to cause more problems. So just make an informed decision. And their informed decision was, I was told that I was being sent back to DIA, that my detail had been curtailed, effective in 2 days. So not what I thought was going to happen. And also for context, as far as understanding sort of where my headspace was at this point, I was also going through, I had just completed surgery for cancer and was doing all my radiation treatment. And I'd been like, but I made a commitment, a personal commitment to this study. I'm going to do it the right way and power through. So I go back to DIA and was maybe not the cheeriest person around, and was sort of sulking in my office, and it was a job that I could do that was an important job, but still. So my boss at the time, who I knew, but I didn't know that well, Chris Bourdin, for any of you that know her, who is an amazing boss, she called me into her office and she said, Mary, I don't know you that well, but I do know that the people that are on your team were really excited to have you back because they've worked with you, they know you, they trust you. And you coming in sulky every day and angry is going to undo a lot of the good work that they've been doing, and it's going to undo the reputation that you've spent years building up. So you need to figure out how you're going to get your head around this. I understand why the project was important to you, but there were political other things going on that were beyond your control. You need to figure out how you are going to move on. So I went home that weekend, had a good full sulk, and then came in on Monday and engaged with the team. And it ended up being a really successful team. But one of the things that I thought was really important to learn from that was I appreciated that Chris was like, Mary, you have too much at stake here for you to have this, to behave this way. And it was not an easy conversation for her to have or for me to hear, but it was very important. And I think that, so the crucial conversations are, as a leader, you need to be able to have crucial conversations with your bosses and with your colleagues. It may not always go well, but harping on some of the points that people have made already, you need to live with yourself longer, and you need to be true to yourself. And you also need to create an environment where the people that work for you can say, I think I know what you're trying to do. It's not resonating the right way. You need to be able to hear that, because the importance of the teams of doing the right thing, being consistent in your guidance, and being true to yourself are extremely important and will last way longer than any particular project. As we've also noticed, there's a lot of important work that's going on in national security. So even though this one project got redirected, there was a lot of other important work that I could do and to focus on that. So I would just say to you all, be true to yourself, be willing to hear constructive criticism and take it on, and understand you're not necessarily going to like it when you first hear it, but take it on and learn from that, and be also willing to hear it from people from all parts of your team, because we do nothing unless we are working together. That is my guidance to you all. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mary. And indeed, crucial conversations are difficult. And thank you for sharing that story. It's a great example of resilience and action. Next up is Tammy Thorpe. Tammy, I met her a couple years ago. She was Director of Public Affairs at CIA. Tammy will discuss risk-taking.
Might have to go even lower, John. Thanks, John. So today I wanted to talk about taking risk, and that's about believing in yourself, being willing to take risks, calculated risks, and they open opportunities, and then they can also lead to setbacks and how you deal with them. But when I first heard the prompt, when things don't go as planned, I thought, well, my background is I was a journalist, and then I was a public affairs officer, so that could be sort of the motto of my whole life. But there were so many ways that we could go with this. One is, soon after getting to CIA 4 years ago as the Director of Public Affairs, we in Public Affairs did an interview about our social media. We had a lot of creative posts, some good content, and but we were doing a story. Cooperating with a journalist who was doing a story about us. So we were speaking about ourselves. I know better than that. That just never goes well for public affairs officers. We're not the story. And, but I was new, this had been in train before, and I didn't take the risk to rock the boat and say, guys, I don't think this is a good idea. Most of what was provided in that interview was great, and it made us all look terrific. But the takeaway that the journalist had, which essentially led everything, was CIA might post to TikTok someday, which is really not what was meant. And so that led to a letter from then Senator Marco Rubio to my boss, own goal. And then another one I thought about was, there's the time that my boss, who was super busy all the time, and his time was extremely important. So when I got time on his calendar for an interview, you would expect that the recorder would record. Well, I was in there, and I apparently didn't hit record. And so the director had to do the interview again. That lesson was be prepared and know how to hit record. But, all of this kind of led me to the larger picture of taking risks and the value of taking risks. A friend of mine said, "What would you tell your younger self about taking risks?" Like many, and this came up earlier, I have suffered from imposter syndrome at points in my career. And so about 25 years ago, I definitely was suffering from it when I had been a journalist covering the Pentagon for a long time. I was a producer. I was not on air. I was not used to having a byline or anybody knowing who I was, except in the Pentagon. But what I failed to take advantage of was a friend of mine was the NPR correspondent at the Pentagon, and she was moving on, and she wanted to recommend me to take her position. And I freaked out, and I did not take the risk of applying for that job. And it's something, we shouldn't regret things, right? Well, that's something that I regretted for a long time, but then it became an opportunity for me to learn from and to learn how to take risks. So I took a risk at another career inflection point. I had been very lucky. I had done all the jobs that I had wanted to do at my organization as a journalist. So I left a really secure job to go join CIA. I had gotten a conditional offer of employment. For those of you many of you in this room have been through this, and that means you don't really have the job yet. It's a very long, or can be a long and cumbersome security investigation, background investigation process. So my background investigation was taking forever. I had left my job at NBC, where I was covering the White House, very comfortable, et cetera, and I was waiting for this to come through, and I had taken other positions, et cetera. So I had taken this risk, and it really wasn't paying off, and I needed to get a job. And I was very lucky. I wound up at the Office of Naval Intelligence doing maritime counterterrorism analysis. And I sold myself to the Office of Naval Intelligence as, listen, I'm a journalist. We do the same thing. I do the same thing as an analyst, gather information, synthesize it, present it to an audience. It's just a different audience. And they took a risk on me, and everything has come from that ever since. And it worked out. I made my way over to the National Counterterrorism Center, and I was presented with a number of other opportunities there, including a risk. And that was to become the director's speechwriter. People thought, because I'd been a journalist, that I knew how to write. And I didn't remind them that I was a television journalist and I was a producer. So I wasn't very good. But it did open other doors for me. And I ultimately became the chief of public affairs at the National Counterterrorism Center. And the Boston Marathon bombing happened on my very first day. I was so scared of saying something that I shouldn't that I forgot everything I already knew. And that was, I had this incredible opportunity to be able to inform the media what was going on and help give them context so they could interpret all the world events and specifically the domestic events that were happening. And I was so nervous that I totally didn't do it. I basically said nothing, and it was really, I wasn't proud of myself for it. So fast forward, like 4.5 years ago, I became the director of the Office of Public Affairs at CIA. And I felt like an imposter. I couldn't believe it when somebody called me and said, "Can I recommend you?" I said, "Sure." And then lo and behold, I was honored and I got the position, and it was an amazing and really hard but amazing 4 years there. But so that was a risk from the beginning for me to say, "Yep, put my name in the hat." And then when I got it, I felt like an imposter, but I also knew, like, intellectually that I was the right fit because I had the journalism background, I had the intel background, it all worked. So we took risks. We launched the first podcast for CIA. I mean, CIA podcast? But we took very seriously the, really like commander's intent, right? Which was to inform the public. Protect what we needed to, but provide information and inform the public, because that's who we all work for. So I had an amazing team. We developed the Langley Files. One of the hosts might be in this room. And if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it because there are a lot of stories that you wouldn't have known otherwise. And that also took a lot of trust and a willingness to take risks on the part of my boss. So it, I think in the end, was much better for the agency that we had this opportunity to really, it was a pretty open era, and it was, and I'm really proud of it. And that was about risk. And then, I'll give you one other example of risk, and that was in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, there was an opportunity to try and take advantage of all the sort of the brain drain and the people who were disaffected Russians. So how do you do that? And we worked very closely with the Russia analysts and operators at CIA, and they thought there's an opportunity here to use a public channel to help recruit. To put a video out and tell people that we were open for business, which is a very unusual way for public affairs to be used, at least at CIA. And we did it. It was successful, and I was proud of the public affairs piece of it, because besides bringing the, sort of the knowing how to put something out, we also brought make sure the message is consistent with the rest of U.S. government policy. We're not calling for regime change. Make sure it doesn't sound like it, all those sorts of things. So that's just another example of taking risk and where it was effective. And frankly, I wish 25 years ago I had listened to my colleague who was willing to take a risk for me and recommend me to do something a lot harder and get me out of my comfort zone. But whatever risks I didn't take, whatever opportunities I lost, I gained others by taking risks down the road. So take risks, but just take smart risks. That's it.
Thanks, Tammy. And I really like that, especially what you said at the top about you got to know when to rock the boat and to do something different. Hey, to close out our Ignite rounds this year, we have Courtney Weinbaum, who is the Senior National Security Researcher at RAND Corporation. Courtney, who's also on INSA's advisory committee, is going to discuss the topic integrity.
Good afternoon. I'm not a tall person like John. I recently had the opportunity to talk with a retired senior official under Chatham House rules. You know his name, and some of you in this room actually worked with him. I asked him, with all of the seriousness that I use to talk with you here today, to please tell me the difference between bravery and stupidity. He could tell by my face that I was not joking. Given the seriousness of the conversation we had just had in the room a moment earlier, everyone in the room was waiting for his response. I had spent months trying to figure out the answer, and I was looking for wisdom anywhere I could find it. I explained in a room in front of my colleagues that I worry that when the time comes, I will not know the answer. I worry I might make the wrong choice. He thought about it. The room was silent. He thought about the difference between bravery and stupidity, and he said, I would ask myself whether my grown children would be proud of me. So why was I asking this possibly brave, possibly very, very stupid question to a room of people who I had a lot of respect for and looked up to? Earlier this year, I was faced with a decision about whether to stick my neck out. I had information that I felt was important to share with senior leaders. I had the data and the analysis to support my findings. And I knew that this analysis would not be welcome nor well received. I searched very hard for excuses to walk away. I tried to make this a difficult decision. I tried to find excuses for why someone else should be the bearer of bad news. Why must it be me? The project was a team effort. Surely someone else on the team could stick their neck out instead of me, right? I knew the answer before I finished the question in my head. It was my analytic methodology. It was my leadership of the team. And it was my decisions that led our research and analysis down the path that it took. No one had a better grasp of the information and the data and analysis than I did. I could not cower, waiting for someone else to do a job that I did not want to do. A chilling question ran down my spine. What if my entire organization, thousands of people, are targeted because of my decision? It might not just be me who feels the consequences. And so I started thinking a lot about integrity and what it means to me. Before this year, I used to define integrity as what we do when no one is looking. And maybe that is a part of it. Maybe integrity is the actions we take when no one is around to congratulate you for doing the hard thing. No one witnesses your sacrifice or the personal risk you take on for doing the thing that you did because you knew it was the right thing to do. I've thought a lot about what a friend of mine, Joe Garton, told me. Joe is the former dean of the Sherman Kent School, and he once told me that integrity is the distance between what we say and what we do. I like his definition, that if we want to claim integrity, what we say about ourselves and our values must be mirrored in our actions. This year, though, I've discovered a whole new dimension of integrity that is completely missed by both my definition and Joe's. In this third version, integrity is not about what we do when no one's looking, and it's not about what we say we would do. It's about what we do when everyone is looking. It's that moment of hesitation before we speak up in a conference room where the door is closed and we're surrounded by peers and leaders whose respect we crave. It's the hairs on the back of my neck that silently scream, "Am I sure this is a good idea?" We see all three types of integrity every day in the intelligence community and across our industry. In my old definition, when integrity is what we do when no one is watching, integrity is properly using tradecraft to cite sources, not cherry-picking data, conducting objective analysis, and so on, even when you know the analytic process won't notice the difference. In Joe's definition, integrity is the intelligence officer who adheres to analytic standards rather than simply telling their employees that that's what they should do. In the third definition, when we need to choose whether to stand in front of peers and leaders or not, integrity is which products are briefed to the senior leaders, which analysis gets shared up the corporate ladder, and whether we say the things that someone does not want to hear. This is the integrity. This is a version of integrity where we are in a conference room with the door closed, someone makes an underhanded comment about a colleague's race, gender, or religion. Do we speak up at every instance, or do we choose our moments so we might continue to be invited back into the rooms where we can influence change from within? The integrity that I have struggled with is when the stakes are at their highest. What is the difference between an act of bravery and stupidity. If we deliver our assessment of the business situation or the intelligence using language that is more palatable to our audience, we're convincing ourselves that the audience will be more likely to hear us. Have we ensured that the message was received, or have we watered down our own analysis and undermined our own analytic assessment? When is the moment to speak truth to power? When is falling on one's sword brave? And when would it have been smarter to live to die on another sword on another day? What if the ramifications of my decision are felt by hundreds or thousands of people, colleagues, who did not get a vote in my decision? I do not think there is a one-size-fits-all situations answer to any of these questions. So I can merely tell you how I answered for myself in my recent situation. I asked myself, if my actions or my lack of action were to become public and my worst fears were realized, would I be proud of what I did or ashamed? My children are still too young to understand mom's job, but one day they will be grown up. Would they be proud of me for what I did? I have decided that professional bravery is not about picking every fight. I've had colleagues over the years who were disappointed when I failed to die on a particular hill, and that's okay, they're entitled to those feelings. For me, integrity is a combination of knowing which hills are worth fighting on and dying on, and knowing that eventually, even if it's not until the documents are declassified in my grandchildren's generation, we will be held accountable for everything we said and everything we failed to say. As for me, if anyone wants to know about the situation where I stuck my neck out there, if you want all the details, you're welcome to come find me after this talk in about 25 to 50 years from now. Thank you very much.
Okay, I certainly got chills after Courtney's Ignite round. Thank you to everyone who participated. Courtney, Eringer, Mark, Mary, and Tammy, for so bravely sharing your stories today. I hope today's sessions spark new ideas and renewed clarity on your own path forward. Please join me once again in thanking Tish for participating in the fireside chat, as well as our panelists and our Ignite round speakers, as well as Amazon Web Services, Candace Solutions, Data Analytics Solutions, GDIT, Peraton, Salesforce, and Workday. I also want to recognize two of our grad students who've been very crucial in the planning of today's events, Stephanie and Ione, as well as Peggy O'Connor, who really puts all she has into the programming. And of course, Toya and Allie, who work diligently to ensure that these events are executed in the manner in which they are. And also to Nicole, first time timekeeping. And man, you kept us right on time. So thank you. So I just wanted to see, now that we're all really good friends here, if anybody was brave enough to share a takeaway from today. I will go first. I learned that all the acronyms that I still don't know after the 15 years of working in this community, to write them in the back of my notebook so I can distinguish between what I do know and what I don't know. And so I really appreciated that hack from Ed, and I will start using it moving forward in a lot of the meetings that I'm in. So anybody else that wants to share a takeaway, we're happy to hear it. Come on, somebody. Come on. Yes.
I loved life is a team sport. That was great.
That's great. It's a good hashtag maybe when you post on LinkedIn about today's program. So there were actually some really good hashtags that I think we'll be using on social media following today's program. Anything else? Yes.
I really appreciated the attitude of all of the speakers about bringing positivity into this moment we're in.
Thanks, Jen. Anyone else? Yes, Sherry. Yeah, very inspiring. Anybody else? Yes, Connor.
I thought Mr. Hallman's point about finding your psychic balance was really useful because it definitely hit me what I do love and really hate about the projects I'm currently on. I'm like, okay, I know what I need to really look at long term.
Great. Anyone else? Yes.
Thinking about Ed Morrison's comments about just being willing to commit, and so there's that phrase I've heard for years, be naked and unafraid, and that validated. You got to be naked and unafraid.
That's great. That's great. So, although I believe the reception will be inside, generally there's a great view outside. If you can handle the heat, I would encourage you all to go out there and enjoy it in between cooling off here in the reception. And really, thanks again for joining us today. You'll get a survey after today's event. Please give us your candid feedback, who you would like to hear from in the future, what you really liked about today, and maybe even a little constructive criticism so we can continue to improve. So thanks again, everybody.